What is going on, everybody? It is episode 184 of Pop Culture Crisis. My name is Brett. I am here with my co-host for the week. Would you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Hannah Claire Brimlow. I'm a writer for timcast.com, and this week I'm substituting for Mary, who we miss very much and who will be back soon, I promise.
I saw that in the chat. People were like, where is Mary? She will be back on Friday of this week, guys. Have no fear. She will be here.
The one, the only Mary Morgan.
We were talking earlier about how she is a superhero for her ability to read super chats.
Yeah, I always have thought that Brett and Mary worked really hard, but something about reading out loud is really taking me back to grade school when I just would count the number of people and be like, I don't want to go.
I was telling you guys the story, like one of the I seldom read the comments. My ego can't handle it, but I remember I read a comment early on when we first started doing the show, and somebody just took a stab at me for my inability to read. And I was like, you know what, it's fine. And then I cried and went to bed. We have a guest host today that you hear laughing. Would you introduce yourself, please?
I am also here. I'm Sarah Patchlitz. Typically, I am producing, coordinating guests, and generally managing Timcast IRL, and as I will be tonight. But I'm here with you guys this afternoon. It's going to be awesome. Even though Mary is not here, Hannah Claire is going to be awesome. Different breath of fresh air.
Who's the guest today? Can you tell us?
Guest today is Greg Price and Libby Emmons.
Well, we know people love Libby Emmons.
They do. They do. Yeah.
They are very big fans
very big fans
of Libby. So we got a bunch of stuff to talk about today. We've got this absolute mess that we've covered before relating to Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, and what I believe to be a little bit of the weaponization of the FBI by a celebrity relating to am I being too harsh on that?
No, carry on.
So yeah, basically it feels like she's weaponizing the FBI so that she can get full custody of her kids. That's my summation. I can't say that for sure. We're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Zoe Kravitz and Tom Holland with separate articles where my conclusion is essentially that having any type of social media, if you're a celebrity, is just like a mainstream celebrity, is a horrible, horrible idea. And then we're going to talk about, thank you. We're going to talk about the CW and the Daily Wire, the death of old media, the rise of new media, with the improvements in the moves that the Daily Wire is making in the fall that the CW has taken. So we got that. We got Podluck. We got a bunch of other stuff. So if you ladies are ready, we will just get right into it. Hannah Claire, are we ready?
Oh, I'm ready.
We're ready? Ready? All right. So before we do that, I do want to do a little bit of a white pill to start the episode today.
But Brett, no chat formation? I don't understand.
I know. Well,
I feel a little bit guilty for
scaring
me
out. You bummed me out. We will bring Chet back.
Maybe you sympathize with this, maybe you don't. I have to reiterate, it's great that he wants to pump people up. I just want him to be less breathy while he talks about it.
Well, he's back in California now, so maybe I'll bring Chet back tomorrow. But before we get into this is the white pill for today. Bruce Willis's daughter, Rumor Willis, who I actually just recently was like, where was I watching something of her before? She was on the show Empire, and she also played like the coroner's girlfriend in the show Hawaii Five-0.
Oh, interesting.
But they answered a very specific question that they needed answered, and they answered it very unhappily. But get ready.
And it's good to see you. Listen, I just had one simple question. The whole world has always had this huge debate, and I wonder, does the
It's a Christmas movie.
It's a Christmas movie?
She knew what it was.
Yes.
The family considers it a Christmas movie.
Okay, so you have confirmation here from the Willis family that Die Hard is in fact a Christmas movie.
I love this reporter who's like, I have an original question that no one has thought to ask you before.
It is much needed. We needed to figure out whether it was true or not, and it's apparently a Christmas movie. One of the funniest tweets, the worst tweets maybe in the history of the world, was a guy a couple years ago who had a tweet that said, your yearly reminder that calling Die Hard a Christmas movie is toxic masculinity. And on that day, I wept.
What?
I wept for society.
That is ridiculous. That sounds like something that Neil deGrasse Tyson would say, because he loves ruining things like that.
They're all ruiners.
The
Ruiners.
Indeed.
Ruiners. So now that we have been perked up by the fact that we have confirmation that Die Hard is in fact a Christmas movie, let's get right into it. So it says, Angelina Jolie is revealed as plaintiff in an FBI lawsuit related to Brad Pitt assault allegations. What happened basically was in 2016, they were on a private plane, and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie clearly got into a domestic disturbance of sorts. He had consumed several alcoholic beverages, allegedly,
Yeah,
and allegedly poured one on her. and also allegedly hit their son Maddox. Now we can't confirm that. It's he said, she said. But the idea here is that basically she filed a report with the FBI. And it says, according to a report, several years ago, Jolie told an FBI agent that Pitt physically and verbally assaulted her and their children when they were aboard the plane. Per the agent's notes at the time, Pitt allegedly took Jolie to the back of the plane, grabbing her shoulders and shouting things like, "You're effing up this family." Jolie alleged on the same flight another physical altercation occurred, which caused her to sustain injuries, including her elbow. She also said that Pitt was drinking at the time and had poured beer on her. So my question is, why is this a case for the FBI?
Well,
the FAA, maybe?
Well, no, the argument allegedly happened mid-air, so that makes it like outside of the jurisdiction of any particular state, especially if they're flying they have several residences in Europe. So like if they're flying back to LA on a private plane, it's a question of who deals with the prosecution.
So it's not the same thing as like when you're on a boat, whatever flag is being flown is sovereign territory or whatever. It's not wherever the plane took off from.
No, not as far as I know.
Okay. So the special agent then met with the U.S. attorney and concluded that they would not pursue criminal charges. Basically, they said that Brad Pitt also had scratches on him, and she's like, "Oh yeah, that might have been me," which means like it's he said, she said. There's no way to prove any of this, but I just want to point out that this is your tax dollars at work.
Thanks for that reminder.
Going to be spent on this. And the part that was the funniest to me was that she now filed a FOIA request wanting to get information regarding the interviews that took place between Pitt and the FBI.
I find this really interesting because she gives the justification of I need to know so I can get my children proper like psychological and medical care for ongoing like suffering that from this specific event.
We're gonna get to that, which is the most insane.
At this point, this was like what, 8 years ago?
Yes.
It's not that this like kind of thing couldn't be traumatic, like seeing your parents get into it while fighting, like that's real. But what do you mean? Are you trying to say that they need a specific trauma aboard airplane therapist?
Apparently. Well, the only way that they would still be holding on to it this tightly would be if she were saying that to them. So honestly, if he did end up yelling at her and saying stuff like "you're effing up this family," he might have been right.
Well, and at least 3 of them are over 18 now. I mean, like if they want to seek therapy on their own, I'm sure they can.
According to Jolie's complaint, which was amended in August, Ms. Doe has been seeking the withheld information for several years in an effort to ensure that her children received qualified care and counseling to address harm suffered. Information withheld by the DOJ and the FBI contains evidence of the harm. You were there. What evidence does the FBI have that you do not have?
She just wants from the interviews where they talked to him separately.
Okay,
I'm guessing.
but I'm saying like she was there. What information could he give them?
Also, like your kids are growing up basically in the public eye. They're not super visible, and you had a very public divorce. I feel like it's clear like your kids just need a lot like counseling. That's
as if she cannot afford that counseling. That's my favorite part.
Well, I think she's trying to play it off as like this trauma is specific, so I need to know what their father said because he manipulated them, so I can specifically know. Like there's something called parental isolation syndrome where when couples are splitting up, the parent specifically like kind of poisons the well against the other parent in a way that especially for young children is confusing. They can't tell the difference, or they feel a certain amount of stress or guilt pertaining to the other parent. That's real, and there are specific therapists and family counselors that are trained to deal with that. I just don't think that's what's happening here. I think she wants to be in control of the narrative and is annoyed that her allegations didn't have enough traction.
And so she files the FOIA request now. Also, I want to point out that there's an ongoing bit here about her wanting full custody and not wanting him to have 50-50 custody of the kids.
All right.
It says, so first we're going to see inside Angelina Jolie's constant stream of attacks on Brad Pitt. Next month marks the 6-year anniversary of Angelina Jolie shocking the world by filing from divorce from Brad Pitt.
Were we so shocked by this?
I pointed out, I pointed out, like when I was writing the initial pop culture crisis, like button, Tim does smash the like button.
Right.
I do gently tap the like button and then ask for people's opinion. I said, did you really believe that in the year 2022, Brangelina and Benifer would still be a thing?
Like I said, I can't believe that the Y2K aesthetic has been brought back so intensely that we also brought back our Y2K celebrities.
Does that mean in 10 years we get Kanye and Kim back together to bring back like 2010s?
I think that's true.
Yeah.
Well, what I was going to say is I don't remember how much you remember this at the time, but I remember it was so big. I was interested in adoption at the time, so her story was a big deal. But the other part was one of the things when they broke up was that he's like from Iowa or something, and he used to want to have his kids like spend a lot of time there with his parents, like have a normal childhood, and she's really into this like globalist, globe-trotting, everyone speaks multiple languages, we live everywhere, like hiring tutors to, you know what I mean, like very elitist, we are of the world lifestyle. So it seemed like they were they weren't super compatible in terms of raising children from the beginning.
That's probably what it's about.
She comes off a little bit like Kim Kardashian in the sense that she's very concerned about her public image and the way she's portrayed in the media. So it says, it appears that Angelina has determined that Brad should never get 50-50 custody. One source familiar with the legal battle told the Post. Also, take in mind that anybody can say anything. I'm at about wit's end with the concept of a source close to the investigation said anything. And there are some who say that she won't rest until the kids are legally adults, so Brad will never have had shared custody. It's just the latest salvo in a seemingly never-ending war. Angelina makes a constant stream of attacks on Brad, and she deliberately sold her disputed share of their vineyard to a buyer she knew that he didn't want. So it's contentious. The FBI is involved. Your tax dollars are being spent on this. And this is what I was pointing out earlier, because I was looking up more information about this, and I saw this article today. Now remember, he just had a movie come out 2 weeks ago. He just had Bullet Train come out last week. So is she? I don't buy that these things just happened. That you don't hear anything about Brad Pitt and Brad Pitt and Angelina Jolie for like 8 months, and then suddenly it all comes out at the same time. No, timing is everything.
Of course.
So we get this today. It says Angelina Jolie shares first look at new film Without Blood. Talks working with sons Pax and So this is very deliberately done.
She's raising child stars.
Yes.
One of those two, I think the older one, Maddox, was like studying biological engineering in like South Korea or something. I know this because she just dropped her daughter off at I can't remember what it is, but it's a historically black university. The daughter just in Atlanta.
HCB, historically black college. Yeah. So basically, they're like, I don't buy that she just happens to release this press release showing her being. It's a family affair. We're making this movie together as a family.
Family, not Brad. Get out of here.
But not Brad. Also, while making a FOIA request and putting it in the news that she's pulling that incident, which for all we know could have been the worst thing he ever did. If he did it, maybe it's the worst thing he ever did, and he shook her on the plane. They said it cost like $25,000 in damage to the private plane. If I was that company, I would have padded that bill heavily.
Oh, for sure. Yeah.
Also, like, it's a private plane. Like, does that mean they stain the carpet? You have to replace it. Like, I assume maintaining them is rather expensive.
I imagine. I don't know. You're right. This does sound like a whole thing, and it does sound very Kim Kardashian for all of these stars to be aligning.
Yeah. Look here.
Dropping this now. Movie's out. I got my kids. I cannot let him have custody of them.
See, what I think she should have done is she should have gone on Rotten Tomatoes under a bunch of alt accounts and downvoted his movie.
She probably did that too.
That's what she should have done. She hires a bot farm to get Bullet Train like a crappy rating. Maybe she's the one who commissioned that article about whitewashing in the movie Bullet Train.
She probably did.
She's like, not on my watch.
Yep. I just can't understand what. And we'll never know, right? Because we're never in their marriage. But where this intense hatred of him comes from. I could understand.
He did wear a skirt to a premiere recently.
There are a lot of people who, when their marriages end, it's very, very hostile. But you're only hurting your kids in this scenario, right? Like, why would you use them as a tool? Why wouldn't you want them to have a stable relationship with their father? Why are you openly trying to this is what we're seeing openly. What are we seeing behind closed doors? It's probably worse.
You could make the argument that she's used her kids as publicity tools before.
100%. For sure, 100%.
So as usual, the Hollywood idea of family and what family is actually supposed to be is fairly messed up. I have to know whether you guys think that this is something that's done on purpose. Because without people connecting the dots for you and actually writing it out and saying this was done this way, you'd have to have a publicist say, for most people to believe that this was done on purpose, you'd have to have somebody say, a publicist who worked for Angelina Jolie said that she released it at this time so that she could make Brad look bad. If you're just looking at the information at hand, do you believe that that's what this was about?
Yeah, there are too many things that are coming into alignment for it to be a coincidence, for sure.
Also, do you think that the part about the FBI being involved was something that she consciously used as a tool to make it worse for him?
It's hard to say because, again, knowing that this actually happened while they were in air, that's, I assume, who she was supposed to go to. And I don't want to downplay, allegations of domestic violence are really serious. And I think there are a lot of times that people don't that those situations are so complicated to handle that people don't end up feeling like they are protected in the way that they need to be. I don't know that this is the case with Angelina Jolie and Brad Pitt, just because everything around it seems to be like she's acting out of spite, and we've never heard of anything since. Like she pushed that he was like this drunk who was out of control all the time, but like she seems to have her own emotional baggage that it involves being really controlling of her children.
Yeah, she strikes me as incredibly emotionally immature and manipulative. She's using her kids. She's
I don't know
trying
about
to
immature. About immature, I think manipulative.
No, I think she's very, very selfish, and to me, that reeks of immaturity.
She's also the daughter of a Hollywood celebrity, so she knows how the game works.
Who she had a negative relationship with, right?
She should know how bad it is to be raised in Hollywood.
I don't know if her and John Voight are on good. I mean, they've worked together, so it's not like I don't know if their relationship is still like that, but.
I just think that like this is an example of people who are not putting their children first. And
absolutely.
I mean, like, I'm biased, right? Like, I didn't grow up with a lot of family in the area, so like when you hear reports of like way back in the day of Brad Pitt being like, I want to take them to Iowa, they can hang out with their grandparents, they can know their cousins, and she's like, no, we must be globalist citizens who run around the world. Like, I will admit that I'm biased. That doesn't appeal to me anyways.
No, yeah.
But also, like, why would you not want your children to have as many people who love and support them around them as possible? And if it's the idea that he actually is this horrible monster and it's dangerous, maybe. But again, like, this doesn't seem to be the case. It really seems to be an issue of control for her.
That's what I mean when I say she's very selfish and very immature. I think that this level of selfishness we're seeing can only be attributed. It can be attributed kindly to immaturity.
So is this what we have to look forward to Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez? Because frankly, my heart can't take it.
Can't handle it.
I think their kids are grown up now, though. They don't have kids together, but
they don't have kids together. But they both have kids that are under 18.
They do.
Oh yeah, all of them do.
Oh my gosh, let's
I mean, but to be fair, those two have stable like. As far as I know, J-Lo and I don't know who she was married to have like a positive.
A-Rod, yeah.
Not A-Rod.
Previously, I don't know
who her kid's dad is.
Yeah.
He's like a singer or something, but like they famously have kind of a positive co-parenting relationship. And then Jennifer Garner seems to have full custody or primary custody of their kids. So like the kids aren't being battled over the way that like Brad and Angela. And there are so many people out there, I'm sure even in the chat, whose like parents went through a horrible divorce, and it was like you become the same way that parents deal with like property or cars or
literally
who gets
property.
This. It's crazy.
Yeah, it's yikes. It's not good.
So
but we're like, yay, Angelina Jolie brought her kids to a premiere, and look, one of them is wearing one of her old dresses. Sounds good. Like, that doesn't make her a positive role model.
It always feels like publicity and very fake. Like, this is one of the reasons that this job is so fascinating, because there's a weird veneer of like normalcy against something that anybody who looks for closer than 2 seconds knows is not normal.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, I think it's crazy. I also noticed that, like, as far as we know, they do have shared custody as of right now, or something.
But she's battling to make sure that he never gets more.
Yeah.
So once the kids turn 18, it will be interesting to see if, like, when the kids turn 18, she just stops caring altogether.
I think half of them are 18, and then half of them are not. Their biological children, I don't think, are 18, and the children who are adopted are over 18. But the two things I was struck by with this is, like, she is the one who's, like, talking about doing stuff with them, or like being like, we're in a movie together. Like, she is very much using them as part of her public persona, whereas like if they do have semi-shared custody, Brad doesn't, which I can only imagine growing up in the public eye is actually important. The other part is like only extremely wealthy people can afford to drag out a custody battle for what is it, 4 years now? Longer. I mean, this is crazy. Do you know how much that must cost?
It's also interesting that in the People article, it says Angelina Jolie shares first look. Like, is that to say that she wanted this released, or is this to say that the studio wanted this released? If she wanted this released, that seems very calculated and on purpose to me.
Yep, a little bit.
All right, let's do super chats. There's a couple of them there.
Okay.
We can do it.
You got this.
Goofer Trooper says, finally seeing Brett live again. Let's go.
Let's go.
Yes. I like when they say it like that, like you're a touring pop star. Like, finally getting to see Brett live again.
Yes.
Joni Boketh sent a like chicken doing a thumbs up.
Oh,
which
cute.
we're into.
Thank you, Johnny.
And let's see. Adrian181 says, finally catching this live. What's up, Crisis Crew? Hello.
Oh, nothing. Just doing having fun dissecting why celebrities are so awful to one another.
I will say, I think you guys are crisis actors per Mary.
Correct.
Yes.
I have not wanted to infringe on her territory.
Actors.
I mean, you can still be a crisis actor that's part of a crisis crew.
Yeah, I don't know what the hierarchy is for your viewership. I'm just here for this week.
Oh, you're here every week. You're just not
That's
here
true.
every
I'm
day.
here hostily taking over the show this week specifically.
Yes, good.
Let's see. Hava Owen says, classic Hollywood, depraved and crazed as always.
Correct.
It somehow always comes across more depraved. Like, it's one thing when they talk about like political issues and you're very disconnected from reality, but somehow it seems almost more depraved when they do it involving their own families.
Yeah, it's evil.
Terrence Rice says, move back and forth from DC/Maryland between my mom/dad. This sucks, so I'll do my best to keep my kids from having to go through the same.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think that's all people can try and do, right? Like, your parents are human, but you...
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Like, the goal is to try and do better by them. Even if your parents did an amazing job, like, we always want to improve upon the platform we were given.
When my parents separated, my mom moved like 2 towns over, right? And they decided to not pursue like the actual divorce part until I was out of high school.
Oh, that's good.
This is before my mom got sick, so I ended up living with my dad full time once my mom got sick anyways. But before that, I took advantage of it because if my mom was mad at me, I just went and stayed with my dad. And
Yeah,
if my
if
dad
dad's
was
at
mad
you,
at me, I
it's
just went
great.
and stayed with my
Yeah.
mom.
Yeah.
It was,
I had friends who, like,
game the system.
their parents would live far enough apart, and so they would, like, I have I'm thinking one person in particular, they're, like, part of their custody agreements when they turned 16, they would buy the kid a car, they go in together,
Oh,
so that,
yeah.
like, they don't have to drive back and forth
That's a
anymore.
good idea.
And then she would always have an excuse, be like, oh no, but I'm at dad's house. You like, no, I'm on my way. Like, she could always, like, she had like a lot of freedom because of it.
No kidding.
when my mom got sick and she was in the hospital, I got like a check from from the federal government for like I don't know what
Like
that
caretaking
would be.
for her?
Yeah, for like no, because I wasn't taking care of her at that time.
Oh, you're getting Social Security benefits?
Social Security. Yeah, I was getting Social Security benefits, and like that bought me my first car, which just gave me the opportunity to. But then it didn't matter because I was staying with my dad full time because she was then going between the hospital and the nursing home for
Yeah.
the next several years. So
Yeah,
it was
so
before I started taking care of her. So.
Jonathan Harris says, I missed PCC yesterday. Let's get some more parties going today.
Yes, let's go.
Lydia, do you want to hear this cool thing that we're talking about? I'll only mention it once today. Did you know that if we get 15 crisis parties in a row,
I heard this
Brett
last night.
will bleach his hair?
Yeah, guys.
I have made
we
conditions.
have to do this.
This cannot be some angel investor who just does it all at once.
Why
it has to
not?
be 15 separate crisis parties.
Sure, but
okay.
theoretically,
and also,
wouldn't the meters go off if someone put down the money flat? They just go off continuously?
I don't know.
That'd be
I
cool.
don't
No.
know.
We need a tech person to weigh in on this.
Also, I'm pointing out that if this does happen someday, if we get, gosh forbid, I reserve the right to wait to dye it when it's longer.
I disagree. Brett will do it immediately. You're
Yeah,
you're
making
taking
too
all the
many
fun out of this,
exceptions.
team.
Yeah, you got to do it.
My hope is originally that people would forget by the time this ever
No.
happens. Then somebody pointed out to me that like they mentioned Hannah Claire Dunk Tank, and that's from like episode 0.
I don't even
Why?
know where that
You
came
don't
from.
remember.
So apparently it will never be lived down.
Waffle Sensei says, no chat formations? Is this even pop culture crisis anymore?
It is not.
Chet
It
formations
is.
will be back.
I just bullied Brett. It's a
Come on,
hostile
man.
takeover
Come
week.
on,
Come
man.
on, guys.
Gotta make
We
some
did talk about
citations.
at one point having like other motivational speaker clips just to see like what the variety is out
Chat
there.
or nothing.
I don't know, man.
I don't
The other
care.
thing is like, is it a chat formation if Mary is not here to weigh in on it?
That's a good
Yeah.
point too. That's fair.
Okay, Caper2X says, I prefer PCC peeps.
Woo.
Lydia, can we sign the cast?
You can. It's all coming off on Monday.
I'm picturing like so many like actual peeps that you eat.
Yeah,
and
like
then
the little candy peeps.
PCC, like
Yeah.
with little peeps.
Yeah,
that'd
that's a good
that'd be
idea,
cool. All right, guys, we are going to move on, and we're going to talk about why social media is absolutely awful if you're a celebrity, if you're a mainstream celebrity. If you're an internet celebrity and you've built your platform that way, that's a little bit different. But Zoe Kravitz has regrets over speaking out on Will Smith's Oscar slap. Duh. Basically, the idea here is that after this happened, she was like, look, that was a bad idea. And then she got pushback because there is no right answer. Right? Like
Right.
there is no right answer in these situations. It's a scary time to have an opinion or to say the wrong thing. Zoe Kravitz is torn on getting involved in the Will Smith-Chris Rock slap discourse.
Thank
The
you.
incident that shocked Academy Award viewers over around the globe is still fresh in the Batman star's mind after she publicly condemned the King Richard actor on social media. Quote, I'm torn about what to say right now because I'm supposed to just talk about it. I have very complicated feelings around it, she admitted during an interview with the Wall Street Journal. I wish I had handled it differently, and that's okay. My point here is that what she said that rang the most true with me is she said, I'm expected to have an opinion about it. Why? Why do you have to have an opinion on absolutely everything? I want a celebrity to embrace the power of I don't care. Just what could be worse? So she gives her opinion, right? One side's going to tell you she's wrong. The other side's going to tell you she's wrong.
Sure. But she's also entitled to her own opinion. She could say whatever she wants. She just said, here's a picture of my dress at the show where we are apparently now assaulting people on stage.
But she's saying she regrets
now she regrets
it.
She's overthinking it. Here's the thing that I always recommend when a hot take happens, when something happens, everyone's like, what do you think? What do you think? Because people have asked me this. They're like, what's going on? What's happening? And I'm like, I'm going to wait for 24 hours before I comment on this.
Yeah.
And y'all can just chill.
Thank you.
Because I'm not going to say anything crazy and I'm not going to say anything too early. And that has never done me wrong. Like, you need to give it some time. She didn't need to say it. I mean, she could have just posted her picture of her dress and been like, hashtag whatever, Yves St. Laurent or whatever she was wearing. But
I don't think she has to regret saying anything.
Right.
I mean, this, like,
you're going to be wrong no matter
to
what.
have an opinion. Like, we think because you're alive, you probably have an opinion on it because you were there. You don't have to express it. You may feel that way because your publicist is saying you should comment on it. The other part is, like, I think you're right. Generally wait 24 hours, especially if you're not specifically involved in it. You're a bystander. Like, you don't have to have an opinion. I don't think what she said is that crazy. Like, that's her take on the situation. She shouldn't. I hate this thing where they're like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said like, that's fine. That's not even that controversial. Like, it is weird that he got up on stage and like
weird, yeah.
sort of hit this guy.
ordinary.
But most people don't have the same problem. Most people, what it is they get hot under the collar. They feel like they have to say something. They say it. It's stupid. They regret it. They delete it. How many times do celebrities say something really dumb, then they delete it because it's clearly stupid to say? It was like the comic writer Eric Larson made something the other day. The only way this country will heal is if they drag Donald Trump out onto the White House lawn.
Wow.
And, you can't wait 20 minutes and like, do you really need to say that? I'm not saying don't say it. I'm saying that give yourself the time to decide whether it's a good idea to do so. But social media has created poor impulse control.
Right.
You need that dopamine hit from the likes now.
Right.
Yeah, I think part of it is so like her sudden like, well, maybe I shouldn't have said something. I feel like it must come from like maybe Yves Saint Laurent isn't like working with her anymore, because if she was like supposed to as part of her deal, most of the time they borrow these dresses, right? So as an exchange, a lot of times with social media now, it's like you have to post in it and tag us,
right?
And so maybe the brand pushed back and was like, look, like you looked great, but you mentioned the controversy and we don't really want to be involved with that. Now we don't feel like it. Like if she has faced some behind the scene backlash that we're not seeing, then I'm sure it's not that big a deal. Anyone would work with her. She's a famous star.
She's a rock star. Yeah.
I also want to point out that she talks about it's a scary time to I'll read this. This part is really funny. It's a scary time to have an opinion or to say the wrong thing or to make controversial art or statements or thoughts or anything. I was just reading an article earlier today about the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative, which his job is basically to look at everything made in Hollywood and say not progressive enough. And the idea here that she is somehow sharing something controversial is borderline laughable because she's going to parrot. She is the feminist, the modern day, the fourth wave feminist that every Hollywood celebrity is supposed to be. Mm-hmm. So it always rings. It's like when we talk about they never realize that they're part of the machine, that they're not the resistance, that they're absolutely the norm. And they don't realize it. So if her idea of a controversial opinion is no, Will Smith shouldn't have slapped the crap out of Chris Rock, like, I don't think they know they've lost the plot on what controversial is, but their desire to be heard is so strong that everything feels controversial to them because they expect everyone to agree with them all the time.
Yeah, I think that you're totally right. That's why the slap felt like such a big deal, because there wasn't a clear party line, whereas they are used to saying, like, we're brave and bold. We're making a controversial statement that we all agree with, right? We're all good here.
She's like, there is no stunning or brave in this situation. What am I supposed to do?
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, it was truly a moment where, like, no one's PR agent had a calculator for this, so no one was prepared on how to respond,
which I like.
Whereas like when she's saying
that's cool,
when she talks about like controversial art, like I don't think she's talking about the kind of art that most people would put out that we would think is controversial, because they all come from one ideology. So
Yeah.
it's like, oh, it's controversial, but it's a pro-abortion piece. And you're like, is that controversial? Because that's like a majority opinion that's legalized in most states.
The article that I thought about making it a topic, but it gets to be in the weeds about the USC Annenberg Inclusion Initiative. They hire a bunch of Hollywood celebrities like to talk about how we're going to include conversations about abortion, and it was like 9 celebrities, and I looked up, everyone's like Kerry Washington, every single one of them
has the same stance.
More
on
than that, yes. There was not a single. There was not a single dissenting opinion. I was like looking from like. There's like, is Gina Carano in there somewhere? No. There's also no men.
Candace Cameron Bure. She's an open Christian. I assume she's pro-abortion. I mean anti-abortion. I'm mixing all of vernacular up.
It also says it's mostly scary because art is about conversation. That should, in my opinion, always be the point. The internet is the opposite of conversation. I agree with her on that. The internet is people putting things out there and not taking anything in. I agree with everything about that last statement, but I don't believe that any of the art that these celebrities are creating is actually supposed to be about conversation. It's supposed to be about confirmation. You're supposed to affirm what they're already telling you.
Exactly.
Yeah. I feel in some ways I want to have empathy for her because your life is so consumed by the public's opinion for you. I can only imagine how you're wired to respond to that. Like, for me, it's easy to say, and I don't feel this way all the time, but like, if something is my opinion, it probably doesn't change that dramatically. I might become more informed over time, but in this case, like, her opinion is malleable because everything about her is malleable to fit the audience.
Right.
Says Kravitz revealed that the experience has helped her learn a valuable lesson. I was reminded that I'm an artist, she continued. Being an artist is, I know, saying that with like I'm an artist. Yeah. I feel like your voice becomes British just saying that phrase. Being an artist is not about everyone loving you or everyone thinking you're hot. She is hot, so.
Okay, fair. All right.
It's about expressing something that will hopefully spark a conversation or inspire people or make them feel seen. Make them feel something maybe. I don't know what they mean, but that seems like extreme narcissism. Like, my art makes you feel seen. Go F yourself, lady.
Seriously.
And the other reason I want to point this out is because there was an article from a couple days ago in which Tom Holland basically said, like, look, I can't do it anymore. Like, social media. He's been off social media, and then he came back for like a little bit and said, look, I'm going off social media because it's freaking awful for you.
Is this permanent or is this I am temporarily stepping away?
He's like, he deleted the app. He's like temporarily stepping away. So he says, I have taken a break from social media for my mental health because I find Instagram and Twitter to be overstimulating, to be overwhelming. I get caught up and I spiral when I read things about me online. That's and fair. Ultimately, it's very detrimental to my mental state. So I decided to take a step back and delete the app. That is the smartest thing you could do.
Guys, I had an idea the other day. So I was thinking about this myself because I have a few haters on Instagram and I'm like, how am I supposed to deal with this? How exactly are you supposed to respond to someone who's just freaking rude to you with no basis in reality? What are you supposed to do? I was thinking there should be like a course on this. There should be somebody who speaks about this because there has to be a really good way to handle this kind of thing. And it needs to be like condensed so that people can follow along with it and then take those wise points and apply them to their social
What's
media.
worked for you? Like, what do you think your strategy is? Because you've been a public figure for like a bit now.
People are usually really nice to me online. I've got 1 or 2 on Instagram. For some reason, they just get mad at me. And I'm like, I don't understand what your deal is. Usually what I just do is remind myself that I don't know them. They don't know me. I know the truth about myself. And anything they're saying about me is based on probably something they're projecting at me, which I've really concluded is typically the case. And that's worked pretty well. But they're like very specific. And I'm like, why are you just picking at this one thing? This doesn't really make sense to me. So I need an evolving strategy to handle this. I feel like everybody does. I think it should be a course.
The other thing is the mainstream celebrities don't need it. They have the machine to push them, the Hollywood machine. An internet celebrity, a YouTube star, somebody who comes through Twitch or something like that, their connection directly with the audience plays a huge role in paving the way for their platform to grow. A Tom Holland of the world doesn't need to talk with people online for his platform to grow.
I agree with you for the most part, except that influencer marketing is such a huge deal right now. So like Tom Holland could continue to be a successful actor and get cast in all kinds of movies, but in some ways his, let's say, brand, meaning like his manager and his publicist and whoever is like in his circle who's helping him like build his career, might point out that is losing revenue. I mean, Zendaya, I knew she was on Disney Channel, but she also went on Dancing with the Stars. I'm referencing her because they're dating, as far as we know. The rumor is he was leaving social media because they broke up.
Ooh.
But,
that's sad.
I don't think that's true. But, like, she also, I mean, she's beautiful and she's built like a runway model. So she's also in a million campaigns for all sorts of luxury brands, which for the most part gets featured on her Instagram.
Right.
That platform is extremely important to her. And maybe she would choose to walk away, but you have to admit that that's losing hundreds of thousands of dollars a year. She could continue to act, but she would leave money on the table, so to speak.
Well, then you have to decide whether the money left on the table is worth your mental health.
Totally.
Tom Holland says it is. Also, it's different for like he's not going to benefit from.
And I think celebrities, like there are some celebrities who don't have access to their Instagram account.
Well, that's what I'm saying. He could do that.
Right.
Choose
so like,
not to read it.
He could still be posting whatever brand deal endorsements and just not be managing it himself. I think
that's
especially young actors are probably people who get famous not really knowing that they're like Zoe Kravitz is Lenny Kravitz's daughter,
yes.
right?
Yeah.
So probably she was more strategically moved into acting.
Yep.
Someone who had like a personal relationship with their platform, like you.
That was my personal account.
Because and then you had this like public platform when you started producing IRL, and then it built a following that you didn't necessarily ask for. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So he has 67.8 million followers. That's a lot. And from his handle, it looks like this was his personal account.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know if he maybe just never handed it over to someone to manage it for him. And now he's feeling the pressure of almost 70,000, 70 million people.
Right. Like if you grew up using social media the way most of consumers use social media, which is like as a personal platform, it's very different. You're not disciplined to say like, I'm going to turn it off now. They won't even give Adele the passwords to her account because she posted that like racy pic.
It's also impossible to like actually use it the way normal people use it because you post something and immediately you're bombarded with responses, good and bad.
Love and
you can't actually engage that way.
Yeah.
Like I get messages on Instagram and like I have time to like read them. I don't always have time to respond because I'm busy. If I'm busy, Tom Holland is very, very busy.
So Zoe Kravitz, it says that she responded to some of the comments on her picture.
Like that's insane to me.
She's engaging with it too personally. I think that's what they're both doing.
Like I don't think you need to do that in that respect.
It's not
like,
healthy.
It's not good. First of all, you're not changing that person's mind.
Right.
Ever. You're not.
Maybe we should just make like celebrities like Yelp review pages. Yeah. You know how like people leave negative Yelp reviews and the business will respond like, so sorry to hear that. Like we will help. Thank you. We'll help you next time. Like maybe they need to learn to use like Yelp. Like if you have a problem with Zoe Kravitz's comments, please put them on her Yelp page so she can address them in a professional manner.
Yeah. And it is like we're just social media evolved so quickly and became so wrapped in celebrity that Hollywood was busy trying to find ways to monetize it.
Yep.
It built its own economy through YouTube, Twitch, and things like that. So there's all these things trying to work together, and it seems like a problem for just trying to figure it out while also trying to live as a regular person. I was like, this is a big problem like in like Star Wars. A lot of the creators are just not able to shut up talking about politics.
Yeah.
They can't.
Yeah.
And that's, to me, I say that's fine, but have a private account for your friends and family.
Right, have a burner.
Have your own account.
Yeah.
And like leave your, if you're that type of celebrity, leave your professional account where people actually consume your work to be more diplomatic. I'm not saying they have to do that. I'm saying for the benefit of your mental health, if you want to go on some rant about Roe v. Wade or Donald Trump and you need to get those clicks and likes, just add the people who you know like you as a person and know you outside of work so that you can rant on social media. You can still have your dopamine hit.
Right.
And not have to worry about turning 90% of the or 50% of the country against you because you don't know how to have some self-control. Maybe I'm biased here because I am very, very, very guarded with what I share.
Me too.
Yeah,
I do not post, like I write hot takes out all the time and then do not post them because
they're not quite hot enough to hit post.
I don't need to. Like the other day with the thing about like the Minneapolis school teachers and the race-based policy stuff. I was going to tweet it out I was going to post it on my Instagram story. I'm like I don't care. Nobody's going to read it. The people who agree with me already agree with me. The people who think that this is a good idea are stupid. I don't need to fight with them. I have too much to do in my life. And if I have too much to do in my life, these people certainly do.
Yeah. That's fair. So. Yeah, I think that's fair analysis.
Yeah, I think that they are told in some ways that like they are. I think activism and like left-wing ideology are linked so intensely in people's minds that it's not enough to just hold the opinions to yourself, which I think a lot, like I don't like to generalize, but like conservative or libertarian leaning people tend to see like, well, if this is the way I like the things I believe and I live it out in my own life, like that's enough. Whereas I think like a good cult, you need to like continue to expand. So with Hollywood, like the virtue signal isn't just an optional thing. It's you have to do it.
That's a fair point.
It's not enough to get the personal dopamine hit to talk to your close friends about it. Like if you are not openly promoting these things, then you start to be suspicious, right? Yeah. Like when people didn't post, I know the famous example is like the black squares. Like oh, so did you not like actually support that? You know what I mean? Like
that's a fair
think
point.
There's
it's part of their economy. It's within their own professional economy. It's a form of currency.
The thing is, they're just doomed to fail in some respect, and that's why I can't help but feel a little bit of like empathy for some of them, which is like you don't even realize how trapped you are.
They are. They're absolutely trapped. It's funny too because I was like, I said the other day, I went on this like I never check the actors that I like social medias. I always look at their IMDb's. It's where I get most of my useless info that never mattered until I did this job. But like I never check their social media because I don't need to know about your TDS. I don't need to know about your I like it's kind of like the blank slate idea. Like I like the idea that I only know as much about them as the characters they play.
Yes.
I'm not saying they don't have a right to their opinions, but it's actually my responsibility as a consumer if I know it's going to affect my view of your work. It's kind of my responsibility to just not seek it out. But every so often I go on little binges where I'm like, I do it. It's mostly like Hollywood liberal women L, where it's like every single one of them posts the same. It's the same things. It's Ruth Bader Ginsburg. It's abortion. It's this. It's like you know. But it's like you like. But how many posts have they made since then? Is it just the one they made all the way back down there? Well, they don't care about it that much, and then you're projecting your own. Or the other thing you can do is you can look at their like similar people they follow, like, and you'll find like closet weird conservative women or men that are there because they randomly follow like Ben Shapiro or Turning Point USA or something like that. And I get a huge kick out of that because a lot of them still work in the industry. It's just they follow those people, but they don't talk about it.
But they try to cancel them over that. They're like, oh, you like this tweet from like, a year and a half
ago?
They
don't even like the tweets. I don't know if they necessarily even like the tweets. They might just follow them and look at it. And that's, there are those absolute maniacs on social media that go around and they're like, look at who this person follows.
I wonder if publicists in Hollywood, like when they're like meeting with new potential clients, are like, have you ever in your life had a Twitter? And if they say no, they're like, you're in.
You're in.
Because it's the equivalent of like colleges, like when you say, like, if people say they can pay full tuition cash, they're like, you're definitely coming because you can pay the bills.
Yep.
All right, let's do super chats.
John Harrison says, keep the pimp slapping hand high, Linda.
Oh, yeah. I sit with it like this because it's a little less uncomfortable.
I like it because when we do IRL, you look over at Lydia, consummate professional, doing her job, one hand up. Like, that's how good she is.
Also, people have no idea how incredibly talented Lydia is as a multitasker.
I multitask pretty fluidly at this point.
She will be like, we'll be like group chatting, me, you, and Andy, and then she's also doing IRL and posting things in Slack.
Yeah, it's fine. A lot going on.
Like I'm like, she's only got one hand. How's she doing that?
Imagine if she had both. Like when she has both of them, it's even more.
Even more.
It is. No, it is.
Yes. It's a lot. It's a lot.
Hobbit says, "Yay, no chat formation."
No chat formation.
Some people like them. Some people hate them. They will be back.
They will.
Diz Wiz sent in some sort of people currency.
I believe it's South Korean.
Ooh,
I thought it's Polish. Let me look it up now. No, I'm just curious.
He said, or maybe she said, hope Mary's good in Exorcism Asylum. It's pronounced Ireland.
Are exorcisms particularly common in Ireland?
I don't know.
They're Catholic. They're a Catholic country.
Do you think she will come back with a bunch of lucky charms for all of us?
I hope so.
I hope she's bringing souvenirs
and potatoes.
Yeah.
If I don't get, in fact, if I don't get a souvenir, we're gonna chastise her on air.
Yeah, that is South
I hope
Korean
she does
event.
like an unboxing on air.
Also, guys, I want to check and make sure that the stream is okay because I'm getting the poor signal.
I'm able to see it. Yeah, it's fine.
You can hear the rain.
This is why Brett likes when Lydia's on for multiple reasons, but definitely because she's
a
live producer. So he's like, I'm nervous. She's like, we're good.
Yeah, we're good.
My hand is up. We're good.
I just need that affirmation every once in a while. A little bit of reassurances goes a long way.
Looks fine.
Jonathan Harris says, I'm with Brett for this stream of conscious commentary on social media stream of conscious commentary on social media is getting old. Either stand by what you say or don't talk about it.
That's fair.
Most of the time for me, it's not that I disagree. I never change my stance on anything. It's that I don't want to have to continue to explain myself to like 90 people.
Well, here's the problem. The problem with our celebrities, our dear celebrity class, is that they spout things out and then they realize that they didn't think about it first. If they thought about it first, they'd be fine. They'd be able to stand by what they said. This is why I delete very few tweets.
I don't even know about that because I think it's just like Tom Holland said, it's the constant input. So even if they believe they're right, you're still getting 80,000 people telling you you're wrong.
Turn off your notifications.
Yep.
It's not that bad.
I don't think you want to read that one from Bad App.
Bleach your hair, he says.
Or he has another suggestion of what you could
He
bleach.
has other suggestions.
We're going to skip
Full of
that.
ideas. Thank you, Bad App. Good to see you back.
Jonathan Harris says, Lydia, I like your idea. This is something that's somewhat new in our society on how to deal with people that you don't know, but they are harassing you online. This would probably solve problems we already have.
Yeah, I agree. Like a simple course in how to tackle this. It's just not easy.
It would also require you to be very disciplined with your behavior, like a certain amount of emotional growth, like
Yes.
emotional maturity to do that.
Yeah.
I have a couple of guys who like they just can't stand me, and like every time, like and I'm the most inoffensive social media person ever. I just post skating stuff, and they still like
How
they come to me
dare
like
you.
you're awful,
Something's
you're this
wrong
or
with
that,
you.
and that doesn't bother me because like I've been skating for so long. That's something you have confidence on. It's a lot different than like holding your personal
Right.
beliefs to the fire.
It's because you know the truth about yourself. This is what I encourage people to know. I'm like, you have to know whether what they're saying is true. If it's not, great. If it is, you already know it's something you can work on. You don't need to worry about it.
Yeah. I had a friend who had, for their career, had some issues with like people harassing them online and had to file for like basically domestic violence protection in their state where like their address and stuff were all protected. And one of the issues was like states aren't even used to online stalking. Like it's such a strange world out there because like there is a separation and I'm advancing it. I'm advancing it a little bit because like it's not that people like should behave poorly online and say inappropriate things or like whatever, but you know, especially when the people are violating your privacy, it becomes a serious issue. And like I just think that like as a society we don't know what to do with it, and I think your course is like a good idea.
It is very new. Excuse me, I'm yawning. I haven't had coffee. But it is very new, and I feel like we don't know how to handle it. The states don't know how to handle it. Individuals don't know how to handle it. Need some concentration for sure.
ZM Quad says, first live stream, first super chat. Glad it was here. Love the conversation. Love the show.
Thank you.
Thank you very,
Thanks
very
for
much.
joining us. Bad App says Lulu was an app you can rate people.
Wait, hold on.
Did
Interesting.
it evolve into Lululemon?
I don't know. I'm curious.
Was it an app? When was this cool? Bad
It's
App.
like
Was this a Y2K app? Have Brangelina
sure.
brought it back?
Sounds
Back.
there was a like a there used to be an app in skating where you could post like this. We're talking like before social media was a thing, where you could like post skating pictures and then people would basically give you a thumbs up or a thumbs down.
There you go.
I think that's called Facebook, right?
Yeah,
Well, no
that's
thumbs
what-
down
That's
on
what
Facebook.
it's called now. Yeah.
Venerity Trouble says these new young celebrities are almost forced to be forced to be activism. It's sad to see, but it comes with the job now.
Yeah.
Dude, like every article that I read now about a celebrity, and that's all I have. Like that's literally what I do all day. It's they work activism into their pitch somewhere, and I just don't buy that an industry as full of vapid and self-obsessed people as that
They
is
don't
believes they
care.
actually care.
They don't
like,
care.
I would even give like say the Evan Rachel Wood with her becoming an activist for like that I almost bought that I buy more because if something traumatic did happen to you, I can't speak to whether it actually did, but at least there was like an inciting incident that brought it about, right? I don't buy that a bunch of 20-year-olds actually just woke up one day and are like, I want to change the planet.
Nope.
Like, no.
When they made those like fake influencers when we did this article the other day, like there's literally virtual people who are not real. Like all of them have some kind of activism tied to them because that's what sells.
Oh, so cringy.
Caper2X says Lydia is practicing for twins.
Oh, I'm very efficient. There you go. That's the plan.
Hobbit says I have sympathy for many and empathy for few.
That's something you guys agree with?
Deep.
Well, they're different things. Empathy is like where you're not feeling what they're feeling, but you can like have a sense of like
What they're going through.
where sympathy is like you are also experiencing it in some way.
I feel like I have more of I have a lot of empathy for people, but in terms of like sympathy, like I have that too. Like,
I mean, I'm more likely to have sympathy with people who I have a personal connection with because I probably, we share community and we're more connected.
I would way rather have empathy for people. That is just the ability to understand and share the feelings of another person. You should have more empathy than sympathy. Sympathy is like, I feel bad for you.
Yeah.
But sympathy implies that you are also going through it, like your connection to it. Whereas empathy,
Well,
you're right, is about like thinking of putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Yeah. Jonathan Harris says Lulu was circa 2013, 2014. Dragon Stalin 1001.
I think it's Dragon's Talon.
Dragon's Talent. That's much better than what I said.
Dragon Stalin.
See, I need punctuation and spaces, and it's not your fault, but this doesn't happen.
I got corrected the other day about International Women's Day and Stalin and Lenin.
You got fact checked.
I got fact checked.
I think we should give out fake information and see if people. No, I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding.
Fact check on that.
Anyway, I like Dragon Stalin. Yours is obvious.
Dragon Stallone. It's Sylvester Stallone's avatar.
Just sent in $20. I said for Hannah, so I appreciate it. Thank you for joining us. And then I like someone else in the comments said for Hannah. Who is Hannah?
Well,
it's
Hannah.
an abbreviated version of my correct name.
I was wondering if you were going to.
Yeah, I saw that.
Them.
Dragon Town also sent in $20 for Lydia.
Thank you. That is my only name.
Yeah, and Dragon's Talons and Brett sent in $20. Said Brett, we want Mo T-Rex cowbell.
Nice.
Yeah, your T-Rex is the best.
When I'm quoting people, it becomes a T-Rex.
I love that so much.
Okay, so thank you, Dragon's Talon. Basically, the idea here is that being a celebrity with social media just feels like an awful way to live.
It feels so hollow.
It does. So,
yeah.
All right, we're going to move on. And this was the one that I had a lot to say on initially, but it's kind of, it's not political, but I do want to talk about the Daily Wire and how it connects to what's happening over at the CW. So here's the first part of it. It says, the Daily Wire hires former Disney execs as CMO. That's Chief Marketing Officer. Yeah. So basically they hired a gentleman named Eric Caballero, who was a big-time executive over at Disney. And what we're seeing right now between this and the story with the CW is that we are seeing the collapse of mainstream old guard media and the rise of a newer form of media, which in this case would be more, would the term be isolated because it's so related to one belief system, if you will, with the Daily Wire. But the point is that there's money to be made in new media if you have a pitch, if you have a...
Oh, wow.
Right
Nice. Woo,
so it says the Daily Wire, the conservative media outlet founded by Ben Shapiro, has hired a Disney veteran to help grow its subscription streaming service. They have 890,000 paying members as of
I'm so distracted
June.
by the lights. I apologize.
She loves the lights. 890,000, and I'm sure that's well over 900,000 now if we're into August. So the company has tapped Eric Caballero as its new CMO, overseeing. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Brett is such a consummate professional. He's like, I'm going to talk through it. I'm like, what is happening?
I try. The company has tapped Eric Caballero as the new CMO, overseeing all marketing for the company. Particularly as it continues to invest in the entertainment business, arguing that legacy media companies like Disney have abandoned their family-friendly roots. Would you guys agree with that?
100%. And I think this is written in a very balanced way.
I was actually almost shocked by how there's actually another one about their other hire that's far less balanced. So it says, Caballero most recently worked as VP in Disney's Media and Entertainment Distribution Group. We also know that the Daily Wire just pledged $100 million to invest in children's entertainment.
I'm curious, they phrase it as most recently. Are they implying that there's some kind of gap in between?
That's what I was
left
wondering.
Disney. I tried to research it a little before we started, and I couldn't find a clear answer if he had actually left Disney on. Because I think Daily Wire fans... Hopefully this is a great thing for them. I could understand if Daily Wire fans were like, hey, we thought we were trying to get away from Disney. Or why are you hiring out from their neighborhood? This seems like a bad pick. We use someone from their bench who was involved in promoting stuff that doesn't fit our ideology that you have pledged to not do. I would be curious to hear, had he stepped away during that time intentionally.
Well, the idea here is that at a certain level, there's only so many people with experience working at that level of a corporation, right?
That's true.
And with the tone of the world the way it is now, they're offering people who may have worked for, and let's face it, a lot of people that work for these companies feel imprisoned by the politics of those companies. I don't care about the politics. I care about the fact that there's alternatives in media, in choices.
And I think that there are a lot of people who feel that way, but know, like, if you are working in media at this level, like, Disney is one of the places to be, right? It's like a pinnacle for career. They have the money, they have the resources, and Daily Wire is actually building an outlet for people who are talented professionals to leave to work for companies. Because I understand, like, don't work for companies that don't represent your beliefs, but on the other hand, like, if there's no alternative, what are you saying? Like, don't work in your industry.
Providing alternative options so you don't feel so alone.
Not just for the consumer, though.
Like, I've made the joke before. Like, it was like where do you go? Like, we worked for Timcast. Like, where do you go from? It was like, well, it's PragerU or Turning Point USA or something like that. Obviously, I don't think that's
I'm going to become a housewife.
There you go. That works.
Well, I don't have that. Well, I mean, I could be a house husband.
Yeah, you could be a house husband.
If there's anybody out there.
Equality,
any
am I
ladies
right?
out there.
Thank you, feminism.
Says, among other projects, Caballero will lead marketing for the Daily Wire Plus, the company's streaming platform. Again, basically 900,000 paying subscribers. While it includes politically focused content from the Daily Wire, as well as some other conservative programming, the company is moving further into entertainment. We have Terror on the Prairie, The Hyperions, Shut In. There was a Run, Hide, Fight was one that they licensed out. Committing $100 million to produce kids and family fare and expanding into original movies, including Gina Carano's lead offering Terror on the Prairie. Earlier this month, they hired Chris Sonnenberg, the showrunner on Disney's Rapunzel's Tangled Adventure, to serve as VP of animation.
That's great.
Yeah, they're pulling from all these industries. So you have to believe that, like, in that industry, you're, like we were talking earlier, you're forced to be an activist, right? So, like, a lot of the people that stay silent, and the executives probably have an easier time staying silent than celebrities because they're not expected to have their hot takes because they're not front-facing members of these companies.
They're behind the scenes.
And financially, I'm guessing you're going to find more naturally conservative people anyway.
Yeah,
in finance, right?
Yeah. What I was going to say is, I think that for a long time, there were people who weren't overtly political in their own lives, right? They have their own ideology. They may not agree with things, but there's this feeling that once you leave your professional career for something that is adjacent to politics, even if it's just like you're not working for a senator, but you're working for a political industry in some way, that there's no turning back. You can't go back
to Disney.
But the thing is, so people felt like standard media working for big companies wasn't a political move. But as we know, and as it's become more apparent, especially over the last decade, like, these companies are completely political. So you're actually already involved in politics. And like I said before, there's just not an alternative value system that has a big enough company to support someone who's operating at that level.
Yeah, basically, you can work at Disney and it's an entertainment company that's political, or you can work at the Daily Wire, which is a political company that is also
doing
an entertainment company.
Yeah.
So, but you're only branded one way.
Yeah, but I think for a long time, people thought working at Disney or working outside of politics would allow them to operate without politics, and I unfortunately
I
completely regret this. Like, that's not the reality. Politics is really pushed down every aspect of culture, again, under this activism paintbrush.
So here's this quote from, I believe this is a quote from Sonnenberg. It says, "I studied Disney's tradition of customer obsession, of multi-generational franchise building, and of broadening Hollywood's best talent," said this is from Caballero in a statement. "The Daily Wire is building on this blueprint successfully enough that storytellers and media executives are taking notice and signing on." So the idea here is you take their business model and you work to improve upon it through the lens of your own values. Now, the reason why I think that's important is because I also have this story. Nexstar, which is the country's largest owner of local television stations, just bought the CW, which is the wokest of the woke stations when it comes to programming, for $0.
Wow.
They bought it, but they basically agreed to take on their debt. $100 million in debt they took on.
crap.
Also, like, go woke, get broke, right? $100 million in debt here, team.
And my point was the reason why I tied these stories together. I'm like, so let me get this straight. The CW, which is producing what's supposedly, they had IP that they were licensing out from Warner Brothers, meaning that they're using Batgirl, they're using The Flash, they're using Arrow, they're using Legends of Tomorrow, all of these famous IP-related characters, and they're $100 million in debt. But the Daily Wire, which is Ben Shapiro and a bunch of conservatives, just pledged $100 million to create content. We are seeing, in a way, like I've avoided stuff like this before because the idea of this show is not to be political. But now these realms, at least in relation to media companies, are congealing and becoming like one, right? Like it's all becoming one together. So basically 75%, they bought 75% stake Nexstar did in the CW. Well, Paramount Global, which is like Paramount Plus, keeps 12.5%, and Warner Brothers keeps 12.5%. Continue going forward so that they can license out their shows. They made their money basically by making their shows as cheaply as possible and licensing out the shows to like Netflix to make their money. So the idea here is they're keeping Mark Pedowitz in charge of the CW, and Nexstar says that they're going to make it profitable by 2025, to which I say, good luck. Like they axed Batgirl or Batwoman. They axed Naomi. They axed all of the Flash is getting its last season next year. All of these shows, which I have an extreme soft spot for the original 3 seasons of Arrow in season 5 and the first 2 seasons of the Flash. And they got so bad that they're getting like 400,000 views an episode. Tim gets that on like an episode of IRL with like none of the overhead of like
zero overhead.
An episode of TV costs like $8 to $10 million to make. Like imagine doing that for 400,000 viewers live and like maybe double that in DVR or like online streaming. So it's like, are we just seeing like the traditional collapse of mainstream network, like still corded media, right? So people have cut the cord who use a daily wire to watch their entertainment because it falls in line with their values, are also probably using Netflix and things like that. It's just insane.
We have to contrast from like the days of TV back in the olden days when there were like 5 channels,
right?
And so you didn't really have that many options. Whereas like the industry grew so rapidly that you at one point like I remember going to a friend's house who had cable and it'd be like channel 500. Like it's too much. No one can consume that much content. And then it got expensive. And then streaming became an alternative platform. And then streaming had a ton of original content. And so now it becomes this thing where like you look at yourself and think, do I actually need to be subscribed to everything? No. At what point do I realize like I don't watch for political or ideological or just because you don't have the time and nothing appeals to you, I don't watch every single one of these platforms, so I don't need them. I think it's an interesting way to splinter the audience more than ever, and I think we'll never... In some ways, I see it kind of reverting back to everyone having their own individual TV with 5 channels.
Also, except for the 5 you choose to have, rather than 5 before. I also want to point out something really funny. If you think about shows that are as like super woke, and again, you guys know how much I hate that term, but I don't know what else to use for that term. As Batgirl, or, as Batwoman, as Supergirl certainly grew to be. What do you think the average age range is for somebody to watch something like that? You would imagine that it would be like your typical Zoomer generation.
Yeah, young.
The average age of a CW viewer is 58 years old.
What?
Which
do
means
they have something else that's like
insane.
Nancy Drew, The Vampire Diaries? All of these are designed for 20-year-olds, but being watched by 60-year-olds.
See, sometimes I wonder how that's calculated. Just hear me out, because like, if you're 16, you're probably not paying for your own cable bill. I mean, most people aren't. So, like, is it coming up as like...
If it's Nielsen, then they do surveys.
Right. I don't know.
Then the 16-year-old would have to pick up the phone. Although I do know a lot of
people who, like, are on Twitter, like, did you see what happened on this episode of whatever, who get, like, weirdly obsessed with teen shows?
Yeah. And it's like, they're not for teens anymore. They're for adults who like to watch, like, YA books.
Creepier.
YA books are now made for adults who grew up reading YA.
Permanent childhood.
They consider YA a genre, not just something for young adults, but it's its own genre that they, even though they're no longer young adults, enjoy reading, and that translates into the media. Ugh. So
yuck.
It is funny to me because you would watch these channels and it's so politically. So like I was like, where did those viewers come from anyways? Because it's not like a bunch of people like Mary's age are watching network television on a regular basis. If Mary was here, I highly doubt she would be like, yes, I sit down and watch regular TV all the time.
There was a survey done, I think almost 5 years ago at this point, that was to ask like how, if it asked like teenagers and young adults, if you had to give up one social media platform, which one would you be unwilling to give up?
Instagram.
And no, YouTube. Tons of them.
Oh, they consider YouTube.
Yeah. Okay, that's the thing about YouTube. People don't always consider it a social media platform.
I do not consider it a social media platform.
in some surveys it is included, and because it produces so much content, like I bet there are teenagers who absolutely would never sit down and turn on the TV, but you know what they would turn on? 87 vlogs or whatever like they're interested in on YouTube. In some ways, like YouTube was the leader in the streaming platform realm because it was much more customizable content. You could search for what you wanted to see.
It's like saying is a taco a sandwich?
Yeah.
No.
Controversial.
No.
But people feel like it is because it is so factored into, again, influencer marketing.
And the funny thing is the other when I think about it more, like the shows like Supernatural did very, very well, but like we have people like Sarah here who love that show, who's younger. Like people love that show, but also like they made like a Walker Texas Ranger reboot.
That's great.
Like no, but like I don't buy that. Like, is the goal there to like put hot young people in it so that supposedly younger people will watch, but only somebody like with an AARP card is going to know what the hell Walker Texas Ranger is, anyways.
Is Walker Texas Ranger still a white man in this reboot?
Yeah, actually, it is.
Wow. Interesting.
It was one of the dudes from Supernatural who ended up playing him. Like,
fascinating.
So, all right, let's do super chats.
Jonathan Harris with what I think is one of the best super chats of the day. My name is Ben Shapiro, and you're watching Daily Wire, followed by Ben Shapiro right of the Daily Wire logo at the bottom corner while a catchy theme song plays.
Also, imagine for a second that, yes.
Yeah.
I think that would be the funniest thing in the whole world if he doesn't do this as a promo for Daily Wire Plus.
One of my favorite thing is I don't watch Ben Shapiro for his political content. I like his movie takes because they're like so different than mine. Like I like political commentators' takes on movies because you can tell that their takes on movies are based around the fact that they consume politics all day long, so it colors their review, and I can always appreciate that.
Yeah. Cape2X says, I think Caballero left Disney. Caballero. Can't pronounce anything, guys. Left Disney for his beliefs.
Given what he said in that statement, I
looked it up. There's no news articles about
That's
it.
what I want to know. Did he just get like poached from Disney, which would also be interesting, but it would also give this like would give a little bit of credibility to fears that like he is going to bring some of the Disney culture with him in not a positive way.
He must have wanted to go over somewhere like that.
Or they offer like the ideas that like at the executive level, I don't know how much a lot of them care about politics. They care about making money.
I disagree. I think a lot of them care about politics, and it's just divided on where they like who cares about what, right?
Okay,
maybe.
Like Bob Chapek, who's the CEO right now.
Chapek.
I went to college with his daughter.
Really?
Yep. So it's Chapek.
They call him Chapek because he's cheap.
Oh yeah, I see.
But anyways, he wouldn't. Why would you push the ideology unless you believed in it? Number one, and also were in a bubble of people who also told you believed in it.
Well, he originally said that they were going to focus on like making good product, and then he like backtracked immediately because they came for him. But it's Disney. That's Bob Iger. Bob Iger turned Disney into a political movement because he wanted to run for president.
Yeah.
Iger sucks.
Yep.
Tony R says, I'm Salvadorian/Mexican. I can't stand Disney. I'm 100% in support of the Daily Wire and use my leftist tears mugs every morning.
Nice.
It's funny too because like I don't consider myself a conservative at any stretch of the imagination, and it's just like the disaffected liberal take on it. Like I try to make this as not about politics. I want this to be about, is there money to be made in expanding markets away from one market share to another?
Well, we used to hear about like the shrinking middle class, which is real, but it's also like the shrinking moderate class, or really the disappearing moderate class, because you're there, but you're being forced to pick sides, and that's unfortunate.
Cannot hold.
And people are like, I don't want to pick sides. I just want good entertainment.
This super chat also makes me think, when are we getting Pop Culture Crisis merch?
There you go. Oh, that's a great question.
That's a very good question.
Oh. Jessica, are you here? Can you hear me?
Go. I'm sure she can.
Dizwiz says, I hope DW makes Ripa's Isorn TV series and do well.
Oh, Isan.
Ripa, yeah.
He has a comic book. That's the one that made like it's like $3.5 million now. That he built the infrastructure for the comic himself. PayPal tried to take him down. He basically funded his own comic and got it's over 50,000 backers or something like that. Yeah. And so it's already done and made $3.5 million on his own.
Wild.
And it would be great to see that turned in. But he's I also think he's like a purist. Like a lot of them, they don't the people who I've found that are like really succeeding in comic book crowdfunding almost eschew the notion of these things as other forms of media because they believe that form of media is enough. It doesn't need to be a movie or a TV series. It's the art, the medium of comic art is beautiful as is and does not need to necessarily be translated into other mediums.
Yeah. Jonathan Harris says, leave my teenage drama shows on the CW alone.
No.
Hey, I love that. Like, okay.
Are you saying you are 58?
I loved that stuff back in the day before the shows got horrible. I still have a super soft spot for all of the boomer cop shows that at least before 2017 when TV got awful. The moment I heard somebody mention alt-right crap in an episode of like Hawaii Five-0, I checked out for good.
Yeah.
There's also like, that the writing has gone down the drain when like there's a character on like one of the NCISs that's like a woman. Her dad was like a Navy, like a military sniper, grew up as a total tomboy, and the whole show she's portrayed in that way, right? Like she's clearly grown up with men. She's one of the guys, but she's not a guy. And then in like season 9, somehow she mentions like man spreading, and I'm like, so the writer has no clue who this character is, and it's just my brain turns it off now.
Yeah, I had an excellent point, I think, but maybe it's gone now. I forgot what I was going to say. I think that what do I think, Brett? You're making some excellent points that I now cannot think of. Okay, anyways.
It'll come back to you.
I doubt it. My brain is like a leaky faucet sometimes. Hobbit says, empathy is sharing and understanding other people's feelings. Sympathy is sorrow for another, similar to pity.
Right.
There are many I feel sorrow for those trapped in the culture, but I don't share their feelings.
That's interesting because I tend to be more empathetic to what they're feeling, but maybe just don't necessarily feel it myself.
Yeah.
Tacty Platty says, yo, I'm your age, Brett, and I enjoyed TVD when aired.
The Vampire Diaries.
I knew. Now I remember what I was going to say. Okay.
I told you.
Thank you. I appreciate your support. I appreciate like that. I think people want like, the drama and the interpersonal and the love and whatever else. The thing is, because our culture is taught that like you go to college away from home and then you move to a city away from your home, that people who know you well, you are meeting a lot of new people in your 20s. So Friends was a big deal because it was people in their mid-20s into their 30s who all spent time together and were a community. And the other time that we see that replicated is typically in high school, which is why I think writers have a hard time replicating the same kind of drama or whatever outside of the trope of like it's high schoolers who are up to things. So like because that's when people are together and they don't have jobs and they don't have other things going on. I think you could probably get the same feeling or like energy or like drama if they had a plausible way to get people who are regularly seeing each other together.
I'm gonna go watch One Tree Hill when this is done.
Oh my gosh.
Chad Michael Murray.
How much do you love Chad Michael Murray? Like on a scale of 1 to 10.
He's a pretty conservative dude, if I remember correctly too.
Vernerdie Trouble. I cannot do this job. Mary, come back.
She's gonna come back and you're like, Mary, I totally underestimated your job.
I never underestimated it. It's just
This is not what you thought the issue would be.
I don't know what I thought the issue would be. I tried to go in without thinking about it too much because I would have panicked. Warner Bros. Keeps making bad investments, 12% in CW.
Well, they already had the 12.5%. They just haven't divested themselves from that investment. And I think that they see it as a way to push out like lower tier shows that don't necessarily want to make it to HBO Max, right? So Superman and Lois, which actually is quality enough to be on HBO Max, was pushed out to both, right? So that started out on HBO Max and the CW. And now I think it's just on the CW, and then as soon as the season ends, it goes to HBO Max. But like Superman and Lois is freaking great, and they just had to recast like the guy who plays one of the Kent brothers because he like left at the end of this year.
He's like, bye.
Yeah.
Jose Cuervo says, drown me in some PCC merch, please. Let's go.
Yes.
With
We
like
need
several O's.
I would need to be,
I'm seeing, we're getting live updates from Jessica, our wonderful artist. I'm seeing them in our chat about this.
Awesome.
So I can't read them, Jessica, but I'm sure they're excellent. Nessa Ludden says it's upsetting in regards to seeing how the downfall of shows / movies on Disney and CW. Disney Brink / Xenon / Johnny Tsunami, CW, Roswell / Superman, and Lois / Gilmore Girls. Much more family oriented.
Well, yeah, I mean, even like the original.
She mentioned Gilmore Girls. She invoked Gilmore Girls.
And Vanessa is a friend of mine, so she understands.
We should make her come on the show.
These are the impressive things about these series. Superman and Lois, I imagine, will keep going. They also, like I said, they pulled Superman and Lois out of the Arrowverse, meaning that it's no longer connected to the Flash, to Arrow, to any of those shows, because it's actually good. And they're like, we don't want to be connected to the garbage that is the rest of this kind of downfall right now.
They're like disowning their own family.
Yeah, basically. I never watched Roswell.
Well, okay.
Or the new one.
I watched Gilmore Girls. Like, that was pretty much the only thing I watched for most of my life because I'm a creature of habit. And it's set, there's like a connection to where I grew up in it. But Gilmore Girls was a really interesting show, and I think it aged well because as you're an adult, you can have a more nuanced interest in the characters. And in fact, you can like come to be like, man, you guys have a lot of flaws. It's also written in a really interesting way. The scripts were longer. I will stop talking about Gilmore Girls after this.
No.
But the revival, which came out on Netflix, was
Roswell.
bad.
The Gilmore Girls revival?
That's not Roswell.
No, I'm saying the Gilmore Girls revival is bad.
Yeah. It's really, really bad. And in part because I think Amy Sherman Palladino, who didn't write the last season of Gilmore Girls because of contract disputes, she came back and wrote Gilmore Girls. And I think she probably pours a lot of herself into her work, and there was bitterness there. And so the characters came out even more bitter than you would have imagined.
And times change, sensibilities change.
It was bad.
I mean, it'd be like trying to recreate Seventh Heaven today. Could you imagine trying to make Seventh Heaven today?
Wanted these women to come back and be like super cool, fun, like they were, but like they have made choices in their life that leave them bitter, and I blame feminism. Bad App says, I'm making a PCC design for you sassy gay boys.
We'll have to see that.
On the Z. Let's see. Is that my last one?
Caper2X says, like Gibbs, he was a Marine sniper, Brett. You are correct, and I also believe that the first several seasons of NCIS Los Angeles was very, very good, but the original actually has 10 very, very good seasons of television that I would... did very, very well in like their 2 and 3 part episodes.
I love NCIS.
Writing far above what was on network television.
Do you think they could make NCIS today?
No. I mean, it's still on the air. It's in season 19. Gibbs is gone.
But that's what I mean. Like, do you think they could make the early seasons the best part of NCIS again?
They could never remake those.
No.
There's too much like raw patriotism.
I know,
and like they're like,
ladies, what are you doing here?
DiNozzo was an absolute creep.
I know, it's
crazy. My favorite, like, there's I wanted to do a segment on this show where I read like really awful reviews, right? And there's this episode early on where DiNozzo like makes out with like a trans woman, but this was in like season 2, which means that. The language is so not okay. Politically correct, and the reviews on it honestly bring me so much joy because it's like all of them are written in current year, and then if you go back and you look at the reviews from around that time, they're actually still they still condemn it, but they do it in so much more of a palatable way because they understood that this was just television, and people weren't so gung-ho about being offended.
Yeah. So. Waffle Sensei says, when The Flash ends on CW, that network will be irredeemable.
I don't know.
I've never seen The Flash.
I've only seen seasons 1, 2, 3, and then scenes otherwise. I will say that the original reveal of Eobard Thawne when Tom Cavanaugh played him in this first season, when he reveals himself to Cisco, is one of the most incredible scenes of television that I've ever seen, and proof that the actor who played him, he's a stage actor before. He's like crying over this. The scene itself is absolutely ridiculous, but the actor pulls an emotion through it in a way that makes no sense. Like is where you actually understand why actors get paid what they do, because the concept of the show, it's a superhero show. It's ridiculous, and they're pulling real emotion out of it. It's absolutely incredible. So.
Jonathan Harris says, slightly off topic, but it appears that there seems to be a high interest of anime in an anime channel. What are the odds that we could get one?
We would have to hire people that watch anime.
Yeah,
I am not.
We have a couple people on staff who do.
Yes,
but,
and a video game channel is another one that people
video games would
really,
be
really
great.
want.
Yeah.
Like I am like, I will watch stuff sometimes if other people are watching it, but I can't say that it's really like where my interest has been capped recently. Most of the stuff that I watch is either stuff we review or old stuff. So.
Okay.
Yes, thank you. But I still think that they're leaving money on the table by not doing a video game channel because a video game
I think we can only do so many things at once, right?
That is true.
Hopefully as we grow, we can expand the channels.
All right. Lydia, you really wanted to talk about this one. We're in Podluck now, ladies and gentlemen. We're in Podluck
time.
So we're going to talk about Marvel's Spider-Man Remastered mod replacing LGBT pride flags with American flags gets banned by Nexus mod.
Okay, I have a lot of thoughts about this. First of all, there was a tweet about it that is now apparently private.
Which was hilarious.
So
the tweet was hilarious.
The tweet was hilarious. So somebody with fewer than 400 followers made a tweet about this, and it went uber viral. And I went and I commented on it because I don't care how many followers you have. If you've gone viral, you've taken the gamble and you're now in the fray, and you're gonna get some criticism.
And I can't pull that tweet up, unfortunately, because
it's
been
the
privated.
tweeter was saying that this was highly homophobic, and I was like, how does it make you feel to have absolutely nothing real to fight for anymore?
Yeah.
When you're talking about a mod of a video game that removes a pride flag and replaces them with the American flag, you have nothing left to fight for.
Well, let's be fair. It was absolutely done on purpose. Whoever did this absolutely did. I'm not saying there's a problem with it. I think it's hilarious too because like somebody had to take the time to go do that.
Yeah, good for them.
Good for them.
Everyone should be allowed to do exactly whatever they want. If you're gonna make a
but
mod,
banning
do
the
your own
person
thing.
was bull.
I agree.
Yes.
That's what I'm getting
Wait,
to.
so
It's
how did
nonsense.
this pride flag get in the game in the first place?
It's
Did
just
the
part of the game.
designers
The
were like,
company put
this
it
sounds
in.
like a good idea.
Right.
Yeah.
It's June, whatever.
Yeah, somebody's like, somebody removed all the pride flags. So he said, no, they just portrayed
It's
what
July
the game would look like
1st.
on July
Yeah,
1st.
I was
exactly.
gonna say.
Yeah, it doesn't last forever, and you don't get this really huge push. Thankfully, not yet, except for a month during the year. So it's not in any way homophobic. Maybe someone was like, I'm going to put an American flag here instead.
I'm gonna read this. It says, in 2020, ahead of the U.S. presidential election, Nexus Mods announced that they would invoke an outright ban on mods relating to socio-political issues in the United States, citing that a spat of provocative and troll mods being uploaded based around current socio-political issues in the United States, featuring low-quality mods expressing polarizing views. I would be okay with that if you actually enforced it evenly.
No, they didn't enforce it evenly.
But you don't.
It's
They
like,
never
of
enforce it
course
evenly.
not.
A small but vocal contingent of our users are seemingly not intelligent or grown up enough to be able to debate the issues without resorting to name calling and baseless accusations without proof, indicative of the wider issue plaguing our world at this time. I would say both sides are always guilty of that.
That's true, but insulting your users is not a good way to go.
Resulting in Nexus Mods deciding to wipe our hands clean of this mess.
Brilliant.
In earlier news, Insomniac Games did not react well to head of PlayStation Jim Ryan telling staff to respect differences of opinion and that PlayStation and its communities are multifaceted and diverse, holding many different points of view.
Correct.
Well, they bent the knee hard on that one, if I remember correctly.
Of course they did.
Along with a $50,000 donation to the Women's Reproductive Rights Assistance Project. Ooh, rap. Insomniac Games sent a near 60-page document filled with
I'm not
employee
reading
issues
all that.
to PlayStation leadership and Ryan.
It's like a leftist meme at this point.
Yes. See, I remember
60
one
pages
thing that I want to
later.
see come back. It's a little bit off topic, but you remember when it used to be like cool to write TLDR, but now
Too long
everyone
to-
writes like 9,000 paragraph essays for everything. We need to bring back the cool factor of like, I'm just not reading that.
No, that's the thing. It's either congratulations or I'm sorry. Either way, I'm not reading that.
So we also probably be severely restricted from doing important public-facing work in the future, Price decried. It's worth pointing out that Insomniac Games, including a Black Lives Matter mural and Spider-Man Miles Morales as a side quest reward, I say that's a socio-political statement, whether you like to admit
Right.
it or not. It is.
Totally.
So what do you think? Do you think that this was a problem, Lydia?
I think this was a problem. I think they've let it grow, and I think that they haven't handled it well. If they had gone into it with like a consistent idea that no one should be making any kind of political stances at all, and if they'd understood that the pride flag is a political flag, they could have said, okay, we're not having no pride flag, no American flag,
You wouldn't
no
consider
flags.
the American flag being done in this context to be political?
I don't know if it is. That could
I
just
think
be
it is.
that could just be telling you where this is taking place, Brett.
Yeah.
it could be a location dependent thing. It's not necessarily political.
I think it could be, but I think it was done intentionally, and I think it was done as a political statement.
You think they were trying to be patriotic?
I do.
I don't.
I think that it was being done intentionally.
When's the last time a big company like that tried to be patriotic?
I know, right?
Yeah,
it's but the point is, I think the person who modded it did it as a political statement.
Sure, that's fine.
I don't think that it was like to say that he just happened to pick the American flag to replace it with seems naive to me.
Well, I want to know why the rainbow flag was there at all if we're not having political statements.
Well, I don't know if they're saying that they don't want political statements in the mods, not necessarily changing what's already in the game.
Why is it in the game? If you're going to make a political statement and you're going to say mods can't alter it in a political way, then your game itself should not be political at all.
Whether it's I don't know if that was based on real flags that are actually there in the real world.
Maybe, I don't know.
Aspects of New York City. I do know that is a very common thing.
They could just put like
see.
a New York City flag up if they want like a
There you go.
neutral.
Or New York
See,
flag,
that might have been less
State flag,
It might have been less political to put, and it's odd to say that it would have been less political to just put a New York state flag there rather than an American flag because of the disparate views that seem to come from. Remember,
But it's less recognizable if you have international players. Like they're not gonna always know what our state flags
then maybe
are.
that would be the best thing for it.
Maybe they should move Spider-Man to Texas and then put a Texas
There you
state flag
go,
up.
yeah.
So it is sadly semi-political, but it is the guy put it was interesting to me that the guy's tweet basically said this is homophobic to put an American flag there.
Incorrect.
So, all right, I want to talk about Amber Heard very quickly.
Yeah.
Amber Heard supporters
So obsessed with her.
take aim at big brands that mocked her during trial. So, basically, they're mad at like Starbucks. Because
makeup company.
Yeah, and the makeup company. The makeup company,
didn't mock her. They were like, we did not release that product.
This
Please
is
do not.
correct.
We do not want to be involved in this.
Right.
Says their supporters are this week expressing their disgust. All 15 of those supporters are expressing their disgust at the companies who mocked the act. And I say that as somebody who's not a supporter of Johnny Depp or Amber Heard, but just Starbucks.
He's
Milani,
a Heard fan. Don't let him lie to you.
Maybe I am. Starbucks, Milani Cosmetics, Etsy have been named in a viral thread that calls out brands and companies for making light of Amber Heard in the blockbuster defamation trial that saw her detail severe allegations of abuse against her ex-husband. There's also a funny paragraph. Okay, so it says, Depp also leveled allegations of abuse against Heard in turn, and the jury largely sided with the Pirates of the Caribbean star in May and awarded the actor $10 million in compensatory damages as well as $5 million in punitive damages. As we know, that was lowered for because of state law. In the months following the trial, more than 6,000 pages of documents were unsealed that do not present Depp in a favorable light, according to experts. I love according to experts. The media has ruined it to the point where like experts means nothing anymore, especially if it's unnamed experts. These revelations have prompted a number of Heard supporters to point out ways in which they feel the star was wrong during trial. Now a new viral thread has shone a light on brands and companies that took part in mocking the actress during the trial. So then they go down here and it says they talk about basically Milani Cosmetics, a makeup brand made by a TikTok user video suggesting Amber Heard is a liar after its product was used as a prop in the trial. Also, if you remember, Starbucks had the cups,
right?
Where it's like if you believe Johnny
But that
Depp.
Sounds like that was individual Starbucks that did that.
And Starbucks then said like when it gets reported, we tell them to take it down.
Yeah,
because we hate fun.
Yeah, basically,
exactly.
You're not allowed.
They're just trying to
have.
be above board. Makes sense.
Also, like, let your workers make tips, Starbucks.
Yeah, that's fair
Let
too.
them live their lives.
Live their lives, literally. Yeah.
The controversy sparked fierce debate on social media earlier this year as various videos posting online showed two competing tip jars. There was also a funny paragraph. It might have been in a different one. It says, okay, so the thread also pointed out how Etsy sellers using the trial to create themed souvenirs, mostly in support of Depp, in what has been a burgeoning, thriving cottage industry on the craft seller platform. Well, that's the free market at work, ladies and gentlemen.
Yep.
Dozens of Etsy shops are exploiting this is the part that Dozens of Etsy shops are exploiting a domestic violence. Thank you.
Thank you. Oh my gosh.
Dozens of Etsy shops are exploiting a domestic violence survivor for profit. They're using pictures of her from crying. I like how they're pointing out that he won the trial, but she's the domestic violence survivor.
Right.
I phrased that horribly, but basically they're pointing out that they're calling her the survivor, but he's the one who won the trial.
He won the defamation trial.
which is supposed to insinuate that he was not a domestic violence.
Yeah, she defamed him by saying that he's used her. Yeah,
so it is all ridiculous and stupid, but it is kind of a throwback to June. Like, I'm getting early summer vibes talking about this again. Oh my god!
Oh my gosh!
Did you guys see any of these in the wild? Did you see a Depp tip cup anywhere?
I didn't. I definitely saw stuff on the internet. I don't know that I spent enough time in the wild, to be honest.
We're more on the internet than we are on, out in the wild.
Yeah. Also, there was this thing where it's an Amber Heard research job ad shocks supporters. So basically, somebody put an ad for like a YouTube channel that they were looking for a researcher for Johnny Depp news. He is his own industry now. I had the same reaction when news sites started putting like climate change things on the top of their website. Like, that's its own category now. Now I'm picturing a YouTube channel and they've got like news, video, and then just Johnny Depp. So it says, looking for a title researcher for Johnny Depp news. So what if Johnny Depp just started his own news channel? That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be great.
Yeah,
it's
but
just
does he
news
have
about
that
him.
enough to say?
It's just news about him. So do you guys think that that's a good idea to hire somebody to do your research? And do you think that they could be balanced?
I think this is actually more normal for YouTube than people realize. Like, people hire researchers for when they make those long videos.
Yeah.
The thing is, if you're listening as a clearly anti-Amber Heard researcher, like, are you going to get... You're kind of coloring what you're looking for, right? You're not necessarily getting non-biased information. That's the objection I have to it.
Also, and before we finish up, I want to point out this is a hilarious, if you think we're not balanced, this is a huge conservative L. Typical neocon L. Breaking Bad, Cranston Paul statues spur GOP outrage glorifying meth makers because you are just not allowed to have fun in the world anymore. Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul are forever enshrined in bronze in the city of Albuquerque, something conservatives there are up in arms about, claiming that statues glorify meth. Oh boy. Last month, Mayor Tim Keller unveiled 2 statues to honor the Breaking Bad stars now on display in the Albuquerque Convention Center after a ceremony where Bryan Cranston and Aaron Paul were actually on hand to pose with their metal counterparts.
Did they film Breaking Bad in New Mexico?
Yes.
Or is it
I believe it took. I don't know if it was filmed there. I believe it was.
I know
filmed
it's
there.
set there, but did they film it?
I believe it was filmed there. So it was kitschy and fun, and it seemed fairly innocent as a shout out to the actors and the show for putting a spotlight on their city and state. But now some Republicans in the state are fuming over the honor. Yeah, I don't know.
That's dumb.
Do you know anything about Eddie Aragon, the conservative radio host, or who Rod Montoya is?
No, I don't know these people.
So typical L. It's lame.
I don't know. I feel like I wouldn't necessarily want my show to be known as like the land of meth, or like my state to be known as the land of meth.
So it was.
I think it's a little
the
dramatic,
show is a cultural icon.
Yeah,
though.
it was filmed in Albuquerque. So as far as I'm concerned, they have every right to put these statues in their city because it earned them a lot of money and a lot of recognition. I think that's great.
Yep.
Nobody should have an issue with that. You could just say, hey, maybe meth isn't great, but I feel like that's also something you don't really need to say.
It's not the most important part of the show.
Right.
It's like the show is culturally significant in our nation. It would be like imagine every movie that's been made about something bad in California, and they're like, you can't put a statue up here, or every show in New York. Yeah, like.
I understand this show is important, and I don't really think this is as big a deal as the guy is turning it into, or at least Newsweek is turning it into by reporting on this guy objecting to it. Yep. But or TMZ, I guess. I just can empathize with like, if you are not actually from the state, having like Hollywood be like, oh, this is what your state seems like. You know what I mean?
First of all, if you just see the statues on there, it's not like they're making, it's not like they're doing drugs in the statue, right? So you're just looking at the actors portraying characters. Then you say that's characters from Breaking Bad. You don't say those are meth dealers.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not saying that they shouldn't be there. I'm just saying I could understand wanting to be like, okay, but our only, first off, these people are fictional.
Right.
So the people that we're honoring are fake drug producers. Like, I can understand where you're like, cool, we'll put these ones up, but also can we put up someone who did something real and actually lived here?
Yeah, that's fair. That's fair. I don't know. I just feel like they brought them enough money and they brought enough fame to their town that it's a great thing, and that now people are tourists for it.
If anything, it's a way that the concept of meth brought legal money to the country, to the state, by making fake versions of it so that they could portray it on TV in a way that's not portrayed in a it's not like they glorify. I mean, the whole show is it's extremely depressing if you really think about it.
Yeah.
So just my take on it.
Yeah.
All right, let's do super chats.
Okay, Caber2X says, make mine Marvel, Lydia.
Ah, okay. You say so.
What does that mean?
I don't know.
Make mine because we were talking about Spider-Man.
Oh, yeah. I cannot do
Sorry.
that. I'm sorry.
You don't have the power to do that? I don't
can't.
understand.
No, I'm not.
That seems crazy. I thought that came up to you. You produce Marvel stuff, right?
I do not. No, only a tiny podcast.
John Harrison says they asked for pushback and overwrites like this mod. The more you tighten your grip, Tarkin, the more the stars system will slip through your fingers.
Yeah.
I'm like, I would have loved to hear Dane's point of view on this, but I imagine he would have ranted very well.
I'm sure he would have.
We miss you, Dave. Dragon's Talon
There you go.
says Amber Heard should get a promotional contract for Depends.
Well, we could do that. She could do that. I mean, it would be great if
TJ Maxx, she seems to like those.
She loves TJ Maxx. She could lean into the meme marketing. Go for it.
For sure.
Jonathan Harris says, so we have a John Harrison and a Jonathan Harris.
Oh my God.
Very confusing.
This article was sponsored by Heard's legal team.
Yeah,
Right?
yeah. That's been a big thing. It's
I
like
wanted to say, like, this viral Twitter thread, it had like 45,000 likes, which is a lot.
I thought 78,000.
I looked at it like 2 minutes ago. I have no idea what it is, but like it's not 100,000, so it's not
Right.
millions. Like,
It's not that
what's our
viral.
bar for viral?
Yeah. So
well, I consider me part of the problem by covering it on the show
well,
here.
the account owner has like less than 2,000 followers.
Yep.
So it's really not a big deal.
But also, this is a thing where a lot of people like they monetize that trial and
Right.
turn their and grew channels extensively. Like
They're
get your
Amber Heard. Oh, but I'm also making money.
get
off
your
it.
get your
Cool.
money. I say if you want to cover it, if you want to have your slant to it, as long as you're like open about like what you believe, I don't care. Like
Yeah.
have at it. my
Agreed.
friend.
Nerdy Trouble says, I'm a faithful subscriber to Amber Heard's OnlyFans.
Oh, jeepers.
If only that was a
I'm
real-
sorry.
Amber fans, if only that was the thing. Like I said, I think what they need to do is make Amber Heard's character in Aquaman 2 pro climate change and turn her into a villain. It'd be hilarious.
That could work.
It would be hilarious. So
I think she should just accept that she's in her villain era and like
Yeah,
just
just go
start
with
kicking
it.
puppies in public.
Exactly.
remake
Not saying that. I'm
Maleficent.
not advocating for kicking puppies.
remake
it.
Maleficent with
Embrace
her.
it. Yeah.
All right, Lydia. Thank you so much today.
Thank you for having me, Brett. I always enjoy being here, especially on Wednesdays.
Let everyone know where they can find you.
They can find me on twitterandminds.com at sourpatchliz as well as sourpatchlids.me.
Perfect. And Hannah Claire, where can they find you?
You can find me on timcast.com. I write articles there. Click on the read tab. You can also find me on Instagram at hannahclaire.b, and you can find me on Gab at hannahclaireb. And you'll find me here. Tomorrow is my last day with you guys, and then Mary returns. I know you missed her. I missed her too.
Thank you.
So, yeah, come harass Brett with me for one more day this week.
Woo!
There are 2 more super chats that just came through.
Okay, Jonathan Harris says, "I was first. You know, you guys love me.
Okay.
And
Of course we do.
I wanted to end XOXO Gossip Girl, but it doesn't. And then Bad App says,
Oh,
I'm not
no.
gonna read this one.
Call him Spider Menace. Spider Menace defending
No.
New York against
Against
not
monkeypox.
that.
There you
yeah,
go.
Yeah, against that one. Yeah.
It's a pass for me, Bad App, but
Thank you.
you know, thanks as
I
always
respect the
for
sentiment.
joining us.
I mean, and I'm not reading that shirt would probably be the first piece
I
of
feel like that
merch.
is what we'd
That's a
have
great
to, we'd
one.
have to make.
Yeah.
All right,
Thanks,
guys.
Bad App.
I mean, there's so many meanings that you could put behind I'm not reading that, too. Like a bunch of people not reading things that...
It's too
like-
long.
Then we'll go
Too
into
long
I'm
to
not
read.
watching that. And then,
Exactly.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And then one more we got from Lindsay for $1. Thank you, Lindsay,
thank
with
you.
with no message. Guys, if you want to follow me, you can follow me on Instagram at Brett Dasovic. For the show, we are live here Monday through Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. That is noon Pacific. If you would rather listen rather than watch, I don't know why you would, but you can. Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, Pandora, Spotify, wherever fine podcasts are sold. We are also on social media, Twitter at popculture_show, Facebook and TikTok at popculturecrisis, and on Instagram at popculturecrisisPod. We will be back with another episode tomorrow. We'll see you then, guys. Bye.